Well, hello everybody and welcome to Metaworld News. This for the week ending the 11th of March 2018. The news we cover here is just a brief roundup of highlights in social virtual worlds, really, but also developing technology that helps us interface with the same. You can find me on Twitter. I have a Twitter feed at twitter.com/Malburns. That's MALBURNS, all one word. And most of the links I'm about to read out, if you miss the link itself, you can find it there. Right, well, starting a week ago, virtualreality-news.net had a post, researchers test whether VR can treat phantom pain. We've heard a lot about VR environments and things designed to sort of take people's, how shall I say, attention away from pain they may be suffering. This is a slightly new take because this can be phantom pain. In other words, the pain doesn't exist. And so you go to VR to get rid of what doesn't exist? Yeah, well, it's not that simple, of course. But basically, it's an environmental conditioning that helps eliminate people's feelings of pain. So that's at virtualreality.newsnet. And if I go on the right window, stupid me, I went back. Oh, crumbs, I've done it again. Right, sorry, folks, I was on the wrong window. Okay, also a week ago, uploadvr.com. Have a post about hands-on with the Talon smart ring controller. We hear a lot about haptic gloves and sensors that can figure out where your hands are. This Talon device is actually a thing that looks like, I suppose, not much bigger than something like a wedding ring or whatever, if you have such things. It's just on a single finger and will offer you ways of reaching out and interacting with the virtual world. I think it's designed to accompany things like the Oculus Rift or whatever, but presumably it might work with 2D VR environments too as a tactile interface. So you can read about that. It's uploadvr, or one word.com. Right, moving forward into the week. This is the one that has always fascinated me, and in fact I'm going to open it. The post is actually called What is the Scent of Virtual Reality? And I've always thought this was a kind of nice idea. I played around some years ago with the idea of using audio, so subliminal audio, to trigger off the idea of smell, in virtual worlds. This is a system they're talking about that would actually, a bit like a printer or a 3D printer, you will actually have a certain number of base components that can be mixed infinitely to create different smells, and will therefore allow you to make sense. Scent as in S-C-E-N-T, not sense of what you're doing. And they're actually saying that they can, rig this. People that are like movie theaters and theme parks could actually use scent projectors, to create senses that would otherwise be neglected. But obviously for 3D and immersive environments too. One advance will benefit everybody from Alzheimer's patients to gamers to people who fear the dentist. I guess the idea is if you've got a nice sense, it's kind of aromatherapy, isn't it? Okay, I'm flipping back because I opened that one. You'll find that post at virtualreality-news.net. Right, our friends at voicesofvr.com. They've had several podcasts this week. Number 629 was about storytelling, embodied storytelling innovations from the Sundance Film Festival, and this is really about the various VR things that were at the Sundance Film Festival that were being at a film festival, they were bordering on, storytelling ideas and things. So quite an interesting interview there. Raising awareness about eye disorders with VR. This is a post from vrscout.com. VR Scout is all one word, and VRSCOUT. And we're back down to the medical side of things and raising awareness about eye disorders, both in terms of disorders themselves and, of course, hopefully not ones that are actually going to be caused by VR. So I think the idea here really is that you can adjust, say, a VR headset or something in such a way that it can compensate for eye disorders, a bit like your reading glasses or contact lenses and things already do at the moment. So maybe, for example, you'll be able to put a headset on and take your glasses off or your contact lenses out, because the headset would actually have the ability to adjust to your actual eyesight. So just more technology, really, but possible medical applications there. And I don't believe it. It's not the last one. It can't be. I'm sure there was another one here. Yes, there is. Don't you just love it when this thing flips all over the place? Right. Okay, back again. Okay, a few days ago too, a site called Enter VR. That's ENTER VR.net. VR Chat, this is of course a virtual reality platform that is principally used by people in 3D headsets. I hasten to add, you can use it on the screen, but in my experience, not very well. VR Chat is exploding with creativity and potential, featuring Gunter S. Thompson. Gunter S. Thompson is a regular sort of VR podcast that happens every week from VR Chat. And this is basically just an article about it. So that's at entervr, or one word, .net.
Were you saying Gunter or Hunter?
Gunter.
Gunter S. Thompson. Okay.
As in Lethal Weapons. TER.
Got it.
Lethal Weapon. Yeah. GUNTERS Thompson. And Thompson's got a P in it, if you really want to know. Right. Okay, moving on. 7 ways virtuality is improving healthcare. We're back on healthcare again. This is very much a summary article, but a good one. This one you will find at uploadvr, or one word, .com. And as I say, just a roundup of healthcare improvements with VR. Entervr.net yet again. Don't get many from here, but I got 2 in 1 week. The dynamic nature of virtual reality art featuring Radiance VR. This is, of course, more about... Come on, Windows. You don't need to take that long to load a link. Right. It's basic. Well, I suppose it is a bit of a... it is a bit of a PR. It's a podcast, this one. In fact, it is a bit of PR for Radiance VR. And it is basically focused on art in the virtual environment. Right, let me see if Windows can get back to where it should be. There we are. Very clever, Microsoft. Okay. And, finally, I think I'm on the final page here. Engadgets.com. That's ENGADGET.com. Article by Jessica Condit here. Ready Player One VR games show that the future is now. Now, obviously, of course, a lot of people are talking about Ready Player One, which actually features a sort of prototype metaverse that was called Oasis in the book. There's going to be endless posts about that movie before it comes out. I think it's barely a few short weeks away now. The movie actually features an actual metaverse as part of the story. It's not like it's got VR tie-ins or anything else like that. But this article is just rather interesting overview thing again. of, they're basically saying, well, there's this movie coming out about 2044, but actually it's here already. And then they continue to tell us a bit about that. So very much designed for the layman to be reading that, really, but very useful. Right, vrscout.com, again, vrscout, or one word.com. VR headset uses a robot arm to feed you candy. Now, I had to post this, really. This is the silly one of the week, The picture, which is an animated GIF to make things worse. This device apparently straps onto your Oculus or some other kind of headset. It's from Japan, of course, where else? And it... well, while you're wearing your headset, the robot arm goes and dips into a tray of like candy, sweets, and then puts one in your mouth every few seconds to keep you eating sweets while you're in VR. And it's just, it was really, I wish I could actually switch to this animated GIF live and show it you, because this is too much. I mean, it is a real thing that there was a certain category of gamer, for example, who undoubtedly has a VR headset now, who is also by tradition somebody who never moves from their seat and eats far too much junk food. The fact they're going to have a robot arm on their headset to do it while they're in world just seems to add insult to injury, in my opinion. But there we go. Right. my final post, again, is a bit off centre, but not fairly relevant, I think. This is from a site called digitaltrends.com. So digitaltrends, or one word.com. And this was a post from earlier today. It's about an audio company called Bose. I think that's the pronunciation, BOSE. And they've actually developed some new prototype AR glasses. Now, AR is an overlay technology, whereas virtual worlds, of course, are a fully immersive technology. But increasingly, a lot of these things are sort of, overlapped to a certain extent. And basically, the idea is that the glasses you will wear here will sense the environment around you and sort of shift your audio perception according to the way, I guess, you're moving. I'm actually going to open up the...
and while you're doing that, Mel, I've always pronounced it Bose.
Bose, yep. Right.
That's the company.
Oh, and of course, this has got to pop up a video, hasn't it? I love weird. Don't you just love Windows? Okay, noise soundbars, subwoofers, noise cancelling. Like other AR glasses, you'll see what's going on around you, but instead of overlay visual information on top of what you're looking at, they play audio cues. Looking at the glasses, you may wonder where the sound comes from, since there are no earbuds or headphones to pair with them. But Bose say they use a minuscule acoustics package built into the frame of the glasses. I can imagine these, but they don't really give any other great examples of... I suppose it must be a bit like having a spatial radio that that gives you information as you're looking around with these glasses on. Mm-hmm. Is possibly the sort of thing I would, that could be a good add-on to normal visual AR glasses, that have not only a visual overlay but provide you with audio cues too. The difficulty with something like this is if you're trying to sell glasses, and AR glasses, somebody wants to look at augmented reality is going to have to take these off to put the visual ones on, and then take the visual ones off to move to these ones. So I think we'd be having a bit more fun if it was an integrated sound and vision product rather than just AR audio.
Right.
But nevertheless, interesting technology for our futures, as it were.
And I found, I purchased a VR headset, one of the mixed reality ones from Microsoft, and I did purchase one with headphones built in. Audio, I think, is such a big part of any immersive experience that I can't imagine doing it without audio.
It is. I mean, I'm one of these people who just can't turn on the radio station or anything without having like this surround sound all around me.
Mm-hmm.
Or I suppose if I'm out and about, it's on headphones. But the sound systems we use in Open Simulator here on the hypergrid, they're all spatial sounds. So voices get louder as you move up to people, and fainter as you move away,
Yeah.
and even as you turn your avatar around, you get sound from different directions. I mean, that is actually totally unusable for broadcasting, I hasten to add,
Right.
because
Right.
the idea here is we got our own personal mic around our neck, even though you can't see us, so to speak, just like real world television. But for anything that wants to absorb the atmosphere, even filming, if you're traveling around, you move with your camera down a nice little glade in the trees. You hear birds and the wind rustling in the trees, and then you come out into an open sort of plain, and it's going uphill and a bit barren, and suddenly the sounds of the rustling foliage and things drift away into distance. So that's the sort of thing you would have on the soundtrack of a movie. But in virtual worlds, that has to be as real. In other words, it has to do that as you're moving. So spatial sound is very important, I think, especially to VR when you're actually in a fully immersive environment. 360 vision is not enough. You have to have 360 responsive audio too. And of course, the little smelly device we were just talking about should
Right.
be added to. We need that added too. And if you really are a guzzler, you can have that robot hand on top of your head feeding you candy as well. But
Oh my goodness.
how much do we need? I'd probably just wear the ring. Haha! I'm summarising the whole news in one couple of sentences here, aren't I?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So. Sound's very important sort of side to things. Right, I'm just going to move across to. We do have another Twitter feed which is called Metaworld News after this program, in fact, and I'm just checking what we've got over there. The front page is about Cornflakes Week, which actually this was supposed to be put up as more of a retrospective of something that happened not last week, the week before. A lot of posters about Robstock, although it's actually called the No Borders Festival now, which has been happening all this weekend. I was there for a considerable amount yesterday. I haven't been there today, although it does continue, and I think there'll be a few hours after this program that it's continuing for today. They are actually raising money for Doctors Without Borders, Medicine. No, that can't be right. Medicine Down Frontier or something. You can find it happening by going to, if you teleport to the Third Rock Grid, which is grid.thirdrockgrid. Third, by the way, is the number 3RD, so all one word, thirdrockgrid.com, and their port number is 8002. And the region name is Robstock. That is still called Robstock. And I know from yesterday, they've already broken their targets in terms of raising money for Doctors Without Borders. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this, they've raised maybe, over a couple of $1,000 US. So they're doing pretty well. So go and support Doctors Without Borders. It's as simple as clicking on the PayPal box if you want to contribute. But the festival itself is free, so if you can't afford anything, so be it. You can go over and join the party. And as I say, that is continuing now. Let's see. Oh no, this is rather nice. Leighton Marjoram, who is a very familiar avatar to many people, has started posting a few articles on medium.com. You can find them at medium.com/Leighton space Marjoram. I'll spell that for you. It's LEIGHTON space MARJORAM. And the first one, in fact, they have a post about the No Borders thing that I was just telling you. But the first post I picked up from them was, Sirs Ember, Queen of the Hypergrid. It was a nice little article. It was a tribute to Thesa Ember, who, for those of you who don't know, is in the open metaverse here and organises regular hypergrid safaris and many other things, including with me the forthcoming Hypergrid International Expo, which I shall mention in a second. Right, 3 hours ago. Oh yes. Okay. If you go to viveport.com, viveport.com, Linden Labs' new virtual thing called Samsar. I think this is today's post. It seems you can now get to it and use it in HTC Vive, and Viveport is basically where you download apps for HTC Vive. So most of the beta testing, I gather at the moment, has been going on 2D screens and things, but the fact that this is now available on Vive would suggest that they're ready to go into the fully fledged VR experience. So Viveport allows you to download the app into HTC Vive or however it works. So significant development for them, I guess. Okay, hgsafari.blogspot.com, Art and Cart Safari, that is the aforementioned Thesa Embers roundup of Safari this week. And also this... Right. Okay. There's also a link in twitter.com/Metaworld News to Intro to Sciencebase. Sciencebase is another mesh-based, pretty well-developed now virtual environment. And basically, one of the reporters who normally covers Second Life and things has actually gone in there and recorded an introduction to Sciencebase in video form called Intro to Sciencebase, would you believe? That's a pretty obvious title for it, really, isn't it? Right, 3 days ago. So right, fastcompany.com. Also, have an article, cancel all your plans because you have a second life to live in VR. And this also is not focused so much on Second Life, despite the title. This is also focused to a great extent on Sciencebase as well. And I regularly pop into Sciencebase for various things, and it's a great kind of platform. Finally, my thing here has got everything in very odd orders. Right, there is a new release of the Kokua viewer. If you the blog I've got here is modemworld.me. This is an Arapace blog, modemworld.me, and news and future updates on the Kokua viewer. Occupy White Walls, I think I covered last week. So why is this in a different order? Okay, this is 3 days ago. A new LSL editor released. Again, this is really one for the devs and whatever, or people working. It's a post from hypergridbusiness.com by David over there. And hypergridbusiness, all one word.com. And it just says new LSL editor release. This is an old program, but it's a completely new version that's been released. It is simply a script editor that allows you specifically to code LSL, which is Linden scripting language. It's the original language used in Second Life, but it's also a scripting engine that is used quite a lot here on OpenSim as well. Most Open Simulators can read scripts in that language, as well as in OSSL and diverse others these days, I believe. So if you do like coding scripts and stuff in LSL's language, then this is a good editor to get. You can also get, of course, that if you have a Notepad++, which is a freeware Notepad extension, that there is an LSL plugin in that as well. But
Yep.
this was seems to be the most up to date one we've got, shall we say? um, Right, and yes, after that, all the other things are old news. Well, it's actually not old news, it's new news, but I'll get to that in a second. So there we go, and I should just have a quickie look here at my posts, which is in the realm of. Nope, nothing new there. I was just checking out Google Plus for us too, but nothing new that I haven't covered already. Right. Okay. So, before we go any further, I'm just actually going to switch to our graphics screen. I have a poster up here in the background for VR Evolutions or V Revolutions, depending on what you want to call it. This is this year's Virtual World's Best Practices in Education conference. The conference this year wholly takes place in the Second Life platform. If you go to secondlife.com, you can download the browser for that world there. And if you look up VWBP on their map, you'll be able to find out where it is. We will actually be broadcasting some of the keynotes. Also, there will be a lot of volunteer filmers broadcasting other sessions as well. It all starts on Thursday this week. There is an opening keynote by a chap called Mark Childs. There is a special above the book kind of interview session with Ebbe Oldberg from Linden Labs, and various other things happening during the week. I think it's, the Friday's keynote is somebody called Brian Alexander. And I don't have an immediate, no, oh, hang on, I should do. It's a matter of a spreadsheet that's too wide for its boots. Can't find them. Can't find which is which. There's a big closing ceremony at the end, and no, that's it. Anyway, there are an awful lot of. Principally, what I see on the agenda here is just 3 days of, apart from the keynotes, lots of lectures and things like that. So it should be very interesting indeed. That's so. As I say, that starts. We'll be there on Thursday, Friday, and it finishes on Saturday. Saturday is by far the biggest day, being the weekend, I guess. And then changing slides rapidly, the weekend after that, indeed, we will be having the second Hypergrid International Expo. This is being held on, where you can probably see from the graphic there, weekend 24th, 25th. And the address of the venue is Craft World with a dash in the middle there, .org, Port 8002, and the region is called HIE Expo. If you're doing that in lowercase, folks, remember there's 2 E's where the bits join. This basically is happening in the European evening of those 2 days. It's quite a short, but there'll be a lot at the expo and booths and things to look around at. But there will actually be talks in various languages on both evenings, only for about 2-3 hours. The talks are in Portuguese, French, German, Spanish, and Italian. And when you arrive at the expo, you'll be asked to join a group for your own native language, so that if the talk in question is not in your own language, you will at least be able to get live translation and commentary on what's being said. And we will be there too with Metaworld doing the halftime show, I call it. I'm not quite sure where that fits in this year, but we did it last time, so we'll be doing a bit from there too. Well, all that's good. Now, what else to say about that? Submissions are in. The agenda is already up. You can find it at my. We were talking about this before we came on air, and I've now got to find the link to the site again. Here we are: hypergrid-international-expo.wordpress.com. Weebly, that's WEEBLY.com. And there's some rudimentary information there. There's also a very active Facebook group and Google Plus group for it. And yeah, spread the word, basically. It's too late to submit anything now, but we're pretty sure it's going to be a great event, and we hope to see you there. So, coming back down to earth, so to speak, or at least to behind my desk, I'm joined by James, who might just have some developer news for us. James.
Yes, well, I do have a little bit of news, and firstly, I want to apologize to our fine viewers. I've been pushing a couple wrong buttons today, so but, hopefully not too bad. Just mostly audio things. So.
Right.
Always
Okay.
always challenging, but for the most part we're understandable, and I think that's good. So I did attend the office hours for the OpenSim developers and grid owners and grid users, and it was actually a very nice discussion. Again, another good group of people, about a dozen people there, and one person came asking why her pics might have disappeared. So in a person's profile, it's possible to have pics for, I think, favorite regions or favorite locations. Is that right, Mel? Is that what the pics
yes. If I
feature is?
Yes, it is. It's a PICK pic. Yeah, so yeah, PICKS pics.
Yep.
Yeah, it's basically a way you save your favorite regions. I think you can do it both ways. I think if you actually landmark a region, it's supposed to go there and collect a picture, but that probably only works on an individual grid. Whereas if you're putting pics for the hypergrid app, you probably have to put your own pictures in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it definitely is something that is held on the server, so it becomes an Open Simulator server issue, and so that the suspicion was it was possibly due to a grid migration, and some things didn't come across in the database when it was migrated, which moved to a pretty lengthy discussion about the database, the asset servers, and what actually happens when an asset is deleted. And that was pretty interesting. There's apparently a watchdog process that is there to try and clear inventory items after they're deleted, and so if you're curious about that, that'd be good to go look at the chat log from that meeting. And then another item was related to something called a birds module. It's a contributed bit of code that runs on the server, which is great for creating a flock of birds, but apparently it's been reported that it has a memory leak. And so that's being looked at right now. But I love those flocks of birds that I go into a region. It just adds a nice bit of character.
I've got loads of them here, and of course
Yeah.
I've got hidden sound files on the ground with the bird noises, and it adds so much. But yeah, there have been scripted instances I've seen places. I don't think in Open Simulator where very complex flocks of birds, that sort of almost like an AI script that generates randomness in them and stuff. Whereas mine tend to be birds are basically rotating around an invisible circle, and then you tilt that and angle it and put adjacent ones on it to create a kind of random look. And I was actually I actually thought I was going to be able to create a huge circle which was totally invisible and put circles on circles so they never the timing never repeated or never seemed to repeat. But it doesn't work, because the moment you start linking the circles, the root brim on each circle disappears and becomes linked to the other one. But it's a pity you can't have you can't link in such a way that a top level root brim can recognize sub level root brims, but it doesn't work that way.
And my understanding was that this is actually a server module, so it doesn't have the same demands, I think, on a viewer that a script application would have. So
right.
interesting concept, but all the details are in the meeting log, chat log notes. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is, we've had discussions before about supporting OpenSim developers. And I wanted to share that the host of the meeting, Andrew Hellershank's avatar name, has completed developing a Patreon page to help support his coding. And so I would suggest just go again to the chat logs for the meeting, which are at opensimulator.org in the developers area. And I would love to see more developers start taking this approach and coming up with a way for grid owners and grid users to support the developers in this wonderful work that they're volunteering.
It would seem a sensible way of going about it, and I've got to admit, especially given that the Open Simulator development is largely a volunteer initiative. There are a few people that paid by grids to do tweaking, but I mean the general code base is volunteer,
Right.
and they are well, notorious is the wrong word, but they are known to be reluctant to be employed to do jobs because it tends to tie them to somebody else's roadmap, the employers, and also it can take away their freedom to develop particular strands of modules and things that they are more individually concerned with. So yes, if somebody's contributing code profusely on a volunteer part-time basis, then Patreon would be a very good way indeed of just being able to support them, without entangling them in some kind of obligation, basically for what they do, So very definitely all to the good there.
Yep.
So that meeting, of course, is held on the OS grid, isn't it, on Tuesdays?
Yeah, it's Tuesdays at in 11:30 Pacific time, and it used to be in Wright Plaza, but it's moved to a different location. But you can find that information out again on the opensimulator.org developers page.
Right. And for our general viewers who, I should actually say opensimulator.org, it's our favorite thing because we're in it here. But but basically Open Simulator as a platform is the one and really the only platform that connects to what we call the hypergrid, which is a system by which individual grids that might otherwise be separate platforms can actually link together. There are a few commercial grids out there who don't believe in letting people in or out of them via the hypergrid. No names will be mentioned here, but by and large it's quite an important platform, simply because of this interlinked system that means you can jump from world to world instead of just destination to destination. I think I'll put it right there. Right, okay, so I think that's about it for us for this week. I have to say, if you're watching us live, you don't need to hang on this week for the in-world review because we ain't doing it. We had it's more of a case of our guest could not materialise. I'm not saying did not materialise, I'm saying could not materialise. In other words, res. I found this today myself. I suddenly found myself walking around the region here and I couldn't see my own avatar. And this particular guest was made a special account, came in, and the idea was that they do themselves up so that they could appear as themselves. And they couldn't even see themselves, and they were sort of trying to change costumes willy-nilly and upload meshes and all sorts of things. And it really wasn't happening. So late last night, we actually had to cancel and leave it till another time or another venue. So sad to say we're not going to do an in-world review this week, otherwise it would just be James and me talking to you, and you've had enough of that for 1 week.
I had that today.
We've just done it. Right.
And I also, Mel, I also presume then that there's no in-world review next weekend because of the conference, or is there one?
Well, the conference will be over. On Saturday. Mm-hmm. This is the Virtual Best Practice Conference, so we will be here with the news next week, hopefully with an in-world review too, but no certainty about that. The weekend after will, of course, our programming here will collide with HIE, so we'll be doing something from HIE, but neither the news nor Well, maybe we'll do news. There might be time, but yeah, that's actually the conference that's tricky. Oh, I knew there was something I meant to say. Thank you for not reminding me by accident, James.
By accident, right?
It's called triggering thought processes. Actually, we were just looking through the agenda for HIE, and I do have a word of warning for people. Last night, the Americans changed to their summertime hours, and here in Europe and Britain, we do so in 2 weeks' time. And I have realized that the advertised timings for the events at HIE are all assuming that we're all on summertime, whereas HIE won't be on summertime till the Sunday, and the Saturday events will therefore be 1 hour earlier than is currently posted if you're reading the Times in European time. If you're reading the Times SLT, it doesn't matter one way or the other, but there is actually a difference. So it's a bit odd because halfway through the Hypergrid International Expo, as we go from Saturday to Sunday in Europe, European time will also be changing. So, isn't it just lovely when these things all happen at once?
It is. I love my Google Calendar because I'll just put an event in the time zone that it's published and let the calendar do the conversion. Because I can't figure it out in my head.
I know it just gets too much. I mean, I can usually do UK to Pacific time very easily as a matter of habit. But when summertime starts coming in and winter times and it all goes out of sync, 8 hours becomes 7 hours, and more to the point, there's so many other time zones. I mean, you've got 3 of them in America, or 4 in America alone, and. I'm in the UK, but we're still an hour ahead of Central European time, and there's some to the west of east of that. And don't even ask me about Australia. I've just given up. All I know is right. I go to bed when they're having breakfast or something like that. Yeah. Okay, well, I think that's it for this week, folks. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, we've delivered a bit of useful information to you. And yes, we will be back same time, same place with the news next week. And who knows what more. And meanwhile, do check out the VWP broadcasts will not be on our channel. They are on a VWBPE channel. If you go to vwbpe.org, you'll be able to get all the information you want about attending virtually or where the streams are. So check them out. Okay, that's it from us. It's goodbye from me, and it's
goodbye from me.
Him
from him.
I still haven't figured it out. No, neither have I. All I know is we're paying tribute to an old TV show.
I need a script.
I knew one too. Yeah. Okay. It's goodbye from both of us, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.